Caleb Williams doing things differently, you're going to obviously hear that these are red flags. Yeah. But you know him. He when I met him and just saw him around, he was around. I mean, Saturday he was there. He was chilling out. He thanked all the people who ran the drills before at the end of the night. He stuck around the entire time. He was delightful. Seemed to be cheerful fella, but there's definitely a sense that he's doing things differently, not going through a medical exam, not having an agent. He's going to speak to the the Bears after his pro day. They wanted to have him in today. They want him there today. They want to get in stuff with him right now. And he's like, no, I'll do it after my pro day. What can you lend as insight here about Caleb?
I definitely think there's a little bit of apprehension about how his dad is directing some of this. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily think that's fair to Caleb, but I think that perception is growing. You hear, when you're in Indy, you hear little stories and they're specific stories. I don't think there's stuff that just kind of gets made up about somebody brought in, somebody to speak to the dad about something. And it was just like, the reaction was like, no, that's not how this works. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I think at some point you can think, hey, this is going to be what's best for us, but it doesn't, sometimes it just doesn't work that way. And that shouldn't affect, I think, how teams view him. But like you said, there are things that are a little bit different, but I think some of the stuff that I don't think it should get like an undertow, like when the term red flags, because I actually asked somebody that for the story I did on The Athletic yesterday, and it was like, and this person in the NFL was like, there's no red flags with him. There's no red flags. There's stuff that you're like, just like a lot of other top prospects, just probably like, when Patrick came out or when Joe Burrow came out or even when Trevor Lawrence came out. I mean, there's always stuff people can nitpick.
Sure. And his last year's performance or his team's last year's performance is the thing that it keeps getting brought up. Certainly with Jaden Daniels' last season's performance, obviously his team didn't, get as far as they wanted either, but his personal performance. And Daniel Jeremiah keeps bringing up, well, don't forget, Caleb had a better team. He had Jordan Addison in his
He had a better offensive line in 2022. Last year's offensive line was really bad.
Right. And the defense just couldn't
do anything.
Couldn't stop a cold.
A wise man who we both know had said to me around midseason, I think Caleb's trying to hit a 5-run home run every time. And he's picked up I don't know if he's picked up bad habits, but there's times some of the coaches you talk to will say, there's a lot of easy throws here. You can take them and get 20 yards instead of doing some of these other things where they may not work out. Again, we were at the Notre Dame game. It was a Saturday night game on the road. And obviously they struggled, but he really, he was not sharp in that game. He had a couple of picks. And I just think, no one's perfect at this stage. He's still really young. He does some remarkable things on film. The Patrick Mahomes comparisons, I get why they're there because of the off-platform throws, because, he's also kind of built similarly. He's just not quite as tall as Patrick, but he's a guy who can make crazy throws, can extend plays and improvise. The challenge, and DJ brought this up too, because I remember talking to him before the combine about, those Texas Tech teams versus last year's USC team, bad offensive line, really bad defenses, was, if you told me Caleb was going to Andy Reid, I'd be like, okay, that's going to work out great. You just don't know where he's going to end up. Because
he's going to Chicago. I think he is. You didn't get that sense?
I'm just saying, is if you told me Andy Reid or somebody who is like that with quarterbacks and like that with offense and can make it work, Anthony Richardson is freakishly talented. I think he end up with the ideal coach in Indianapolis, right?
Shane Steichen,
Shane Steichen is shown he's really good with that. I don't know how many coaches. I know they're all like, it's fit though. I think a lot of it. Some guys are going to be elite wherever they go.
Jaden Daniels with Kingsbury, right? Like that may be the winning fit.
Maybe.
I would think,
again,
just off the top of your head,
he had two fantastic receivers.
McLaurin is not.
He's in that. He's
up there too.
He's in that element.
That's the one thing the Commanders have. They've got the receivers right there.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to keep in mind too is the quarterbacks do make guys. I mean, when you were a Michigan fan, Nico Collins is next level compared to what he, now in the
Correct.
NFL. You know, I mean, he was a big recruit coming out of high school, but you didn't see this.
No doubt.
Right? So you could see it. The quarterback can also bring receivers to another level. I don't know. I mean, I think Jaden Daniels got, dramatically better. But let's say there are 5 quarterbacks that go in the first 20.
Yes.
The odds are 2, maybe 3 are going to be big disappointments.
Well, take a look at, again, the last time we saw
the Zach
quarterback.
Wilson draft was...
That's it. I was about to say quarterback. It was Trevor Lawrence, who I'm already hearing people saying he's a disappointment based on him coming in. And it's like, listen, throw the first year out because Urban was a total disaster. Total, complete, unmitigated, worst ever disaster. And you don't have to, I understand you're talking about a colleague, but it's the truth. And then the second year, a disastrous first half in his first playoff game, overcomes that, makes the divisional round. This year they're 8-3 when I thought he was out for the season when he got hurt.
Right, I did too. Yes.
Right, when they were 8-3, and you have to account for all of that. Christian Kirk going out too. That's like his BFF. That's his guy. But Zach and Trey Lance and Mac, and now here's Justin Fields. We're wondering where the hell he's going.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying. There's a lot of caveats.
Yeah. Now the Rosen draft, and I say the Rosen draft because he was the one who, and Sam Darnold obviously has been a disappointment. But then you got Lamar on the back end,
Josh Allen,
and Baker
at the top,
and Baker has a second act looks really good too.
Right.
But it's if you hit 60%, of the 5. And I don't know who's going to be. I mean, some of it depends on circumstance.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.